Yeah, 1, 2.
Yeah, yeah. 1, 2. Yeah.
Request that you move into the opening ceremony area and please be seated. We need you to please move into the area and be seated in order for us to start. Thank you very much. Premier, MC. Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to please rise as we welcome the Premier of Gauteng and the Gauteng MEC for Transport and Logistics.
Hello.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated.
Um,
First up,
Errol.
Ooh, hi Ben, we can hear you. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And first off, a welcome, obviously, to the Premier of Gauteng, as well as the Gauteng MEC for Transport and Logistics. And of course, welcome to all our delegates this morning to the Smarter Mobility Africa Summit. Before we get into this morning's program, I'd like to first welcome onto stage Hendrik, who is here from Gallagher Estate, who's going to do a quick safety briefing for us.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hendrik Swart. Welcome to Gallagher. Just to start off with, the ladies and gents is situated in the middle of the room towards the southern side of the hall. Smoking area is outside the glass doors next to the Nedbank ATM. In case of any medical emergency, Office 19 next to the glass doors, you'll find a medic in Office 19. In case of emergency, a siren will sound, the fire marshal will wear a reflector jacket, and on him he will announce what type of emergency it is, and then we will evacuate. This venue's got 6 emergency exits, 3 to my left and 3 to my right. The ones on my left leads directly to the parking area, the ones on my right leads to the main entrance. And enjoy your day. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hendrik. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Kriya Gangia, and I'm going to be your host this morning for the 5th annual SMA Summit. It's probably one of my most exciting summits of the year, and we're really going to have a lot of fun over the next 2 days as we discuss the growing need for sustainable transport within Africa. Today we have a jam-packed program, and we did start a little bit late, but I'm going to try and get through the program as quickly as possible because we do want to try and make the hydrogen demonstration that is happening at 11 o'clock this morning. So without further ado, please help me in welcoming onto stage the organizer and creator of the Smarter Mobility Africa Summit, Ben Pullen.
Good morning, honourable ministers, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning, Smarter Mobility Africa Summit. Wow, I am so honoured to be here. I am so thrilled to be here. 5 years after we launched the Smarter Mobility Africa Summit in 2019. It's 5 years ago as of yesterday. We launched in 2019 in the city of Tshwane, and each year, along with our hosting partner, the Gauteng Provincial Department of Roads and Transport, we have delivered Smarter Mobility Africa, even during the pandemic. The mission: to inspire integrated, smarter mobility. But why integrated smarter mobility? Well, integrated is about pulling together all of the different modes of transport. There's no one mode that will give us smarter mobility. Not the car, not the bike, not the train, not the minibus taxi. It's a combination of all different modes of transport, all different technologies, solutions, apps, data, all of that combined that will really get us to where we want to be in a mobility perspective. Providing the end user with the best option for that particular journey at that particular point in time. The smarter element is about always improving. Latest technologies, latest business models, latest learnings, never standing still and always moving forward. And the mobility element, well, mobility is absolutely vital to achieving most of, if not all, of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SANDPs, the Growing Gauteng Together goals and visions, and many, many more business and countrywide visions that have been set for 2030. Mobility is an absolute pillar to ensure that we meet those. Which brings us to our theme for SMA Summit this year. It's realizing Vision 2030 through smarter mobility. A report which tracks the progress of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals was published, and the main highlight? The grim reality is that at the midpoint of this decade of 2030, the SDGs are far off track. At a global level, averaging across all countries, not one single SDG is currently projected to be met by 2030, with the poorest countries struggling the most. Global cooperation is at risk due to geopolitical tensions that have risen. And in response to this, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged world leaders to come together to create a rescue plan for people and planet. Over the next few days, we unpack how integrated smarter mobility can fast-track progress towards our 2030 goals and vision, with a view to fast-tracking actions today. My invitation for you all here today is to come away with a better understanding of the importance of integrated smarter mobility to unlock the full social, economic, and environmental freedoms that we all wake up every day to secure and work hard for. It's to come away from this event with actions and increased community that will enable you and enable all of us to realize not just our 2030 goals, but our 2040, 2050, and beyond. Now let's acknowledge some of those who are already doing this. Firstly, to my team, who have worked passionately, some have worked since 2018 on this event, to make SMA Summit and our wider activities across the VUCA Group possible. The sponsors of this year's event, our diamond sponsors, Sasol Air Products, Toyota, Platinum, Auto Trader, Huawei, Visa, Ubumbanu, and Gautrain. Our gold, Industrial Development Corporation, Sanrail, and Uber. Silver, we have Spiro. And then we have a sponsor for our new initiative, Women in Mobility, which is KTC ZA. Our Startup Village and Awards, which has picked up interest and momentum each year that we've delivered it, has the CSIR as a sponsor and supporter, the Gauteng Department of Economic Development, Smarter Mobility Africa News, and ESI Africa. And of course, all of the exhibitors here today and yourselves in the audience. Now, there must be a special thanks that goes to our hosting partners, the Transport Authority of Gauteng, G-Fleet, and the Gauteng Provincial Department of Roads and Transport. With your support and input, this year's SMA Summit is without doubt set to be the best summit that we've ever hosted in the last 5 years. And did you also know that the Gauteng Provincial Department of Roads and Transport has been a hosting partner ever since we launched together in 2019? I think this in itself deserves a huge round of applause. Thank you, MEC Kerebone, thank you, HOD Dr. Tulani, and thank you to the whole team at the Department of Roads and Transport, but also the wider Gauteng province. So make the most of the next 2 days. Your work means more than just the type of car that someone drives, the apps that they might use to use mobility, or the kind of payment services that they use as they travel. Your work will determine whether we reach our 2030 goals and visions and beyond. So let's go out and inspire transformation to integrated smarter mobility together. Next, I would like to introduce you to the Honorable Premier Penyaza Lesufi, the Premier of Gauteng, and someone who comes with a wealth of experience with various MEC roles in the province. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the Premier of Gauteng.
Thank you so much, truly appreciate it. Let me acknowledge and appreciate the program director. I want to acknowledge and appreciate the entire leadership of VUCA Group. Thank you so much for organizing this summit We truly, truly and honestly appreciate that. I want to start by acknowledging the presence of various ministers that are here and deputy ministers, and also appreciate the presence of our MEC responsible for transport, MEC Kidiboni Dialetlabela. MEC, get well. I know you're not well, but your commitment to be here is an affirmation that this is a very important session. I want to acknowledge and appreciate the presence of various MECs that are here, MMCs that are coming from various municipalities, and also appreciate the presence of the chairperson of the portfolio committee responsible for transport in our province, together with some of the councillors that are here. I want to acknowledge and appreciate the presence of our international guests that have traveled to come and join us here. Thank you so much. I hope you'll enjoy the hospitality of our country, but most importantly, the hospitality of our province. I also want to thank various representatives of various formations that are coming from the private sector or institutions that are coming here to exhibit their work. But let me start by thanking, and please don't blame me for that, I want to thank Sosol for what they will do later here. We truly appreciate the research, the investment, and the ability to take our country forward. I also want to thank CSIR and other organizations and formations that are going to make some presentations here. The panelists that have been invited to come and share their ideas with me. Please accept my sincerest apologies that instead of giving you a keynote address, I'm going to welcome you, and the MEC will later give the keynote address on behalf of the Gauteng government. I want to take this opportunity to heartily and warmly welcome you all to this Smart Mobility Conference or Summit. We are excited as Gauteng to be the host, and I want to thank VUGA Group for always choosing and most importantly accepting that for good things to happen in our country, they must start first here in Gauteng. We're excited and we will defend our territory. I know the MEC from Western Cape is here. Welcome, MEC, don't worry. We appreciate and accept the vote of confidence that you are imposing, but most importantly acknowledging that Gauteng has the capability, the skills, the talent, and the resources to host such a conference. As Gauteng, we also want to use this conference to plant our ideas and to plant seeds of how we want to reposition Gauteng and how a future Gauteng should look like. As the theme dictates, that we are trying to realize what we said ourselves as Vision 2030. Vision 2030 is nothing else, is to compartmentalize Gauteng and take advantage of the economic repositioning of each and every region in Gauteng so that we can be in a position to consolidate and advance and march to 2030 and ensure that this province of ours creates opportunities, but most importantly, resolve the challenges that we've inherited as we move forward to build a better government. Vision 2030 is nothing else but the ability to attract investment in strategic areas of our region. Starting with where we are, we have taken a conscious decision as the Gauteng provincial government to let go of mining in this region called Johannesburg. Most of you are quite aware that this region was the backbone for the establishment of one of the most important cities across the globe called Johannesburg. We are the generation that has taken a conscious decision that mines are history, digital economy is the future from now on. We are investing everything in our capabilities, all the resources that we have, to reposition Johannesburg to be the center of 4 economic sectors that we believe will drive the economy of Johannesburg. The first one, obviously, is the financial sector. We've managed to attract all major financial institutions to come here in our province. All major banks except one bank, they are now finally and firmly positioned in Johannesburg in our province. That particular bank that does not want to come to Johannesburg, you all know it, but we hope that we'll persuade them to understand that the future starts here in Gauteng. and that they will come and be part of this. That's the first economy that we've positioned ourselves to attract, and we are quite excited that we've managed to attract those major banks to come to our province. Stats SA have just released their statistics, and they've confirmed that the economy that has grown far above many other economies in our province is the Gauteng economy, growing by 2.8%. And at the center of that growth was the financial institutions. The second area that we want to invest, attract, protect is what we call the ICT sector. The sector that have big companies like Huawei that have agreed to come here, the telecommunication sector that have MTN, Vodacom, agreeing to remain in our province, including Cell C, and the need for us to ensure that these particular sectors are protected and supported, especially the telecommunication industry. They are facing a huge challenge of load shedding as well as vandalization of their infrastructure, especially their off-site batteries. This is the economy that we want to grow and protect. The third area is what we call the insurance industry. All the major insurance institutions are now firmly positioned in here, Johannesburg, in our province. It's a sector that is growing nicely, a sector that we managed to protect during COVID, and a sector that has the capabilities and the talent to create many jobs in our province. This sector is also a sector that we really believe, if appropriately nurtured, it's going to be in a position to create opportunities for our people. The last one, which is very, very key, that we have taken that important posture, is to attract those that are entering what you call the entertainment world using technology. You are Netflix, institutions that are utilizing technology to also push big business. You are Uber, and I was quite excited when I heard that they are part of this particular industry. Is to ensure that we provide all this particular support. But for us to do all these things, I don't want to bore you with all other regions that we have. Because we're in Johannesburg, I want to confine ourselves to Johannesburg. For us to do all these things, we need the smart mobility that can take our people across every sector of our institution. We need smart mobility that is the new order. We need to let go of the old and embrace the new. I always argue, and I want to emphasize this point, Stone Age didn't end because they ran out of stones. Stone Age ended because new ideas came. We want to be the first province to plant new ideas. Anything that is new, creative, anything that will enhance our economy in South Africa, it must start in Gauteng and nowhere else but here in Gauteng. We want to be ready to embrace new ideas. We also want to be ready to invest in those ideas and also be ready to support those that feel that they can bring new ideas in our province. We are also repositioning ourselves to ensure that the transport backbone, the backbone of any economy is the transport industry. That the infrastructure must be relevant, and the infrastructure must also respond to the investment that we want to attract to our province. We are pleased now that as part of planning ahead, for the very, very first time in the history of government and government institutions, as we bid farewell to the CEO of Gauteng, the most important investment that we've made as a province, almost 6 months before he leaves that department, we finally appointed a new CEO who will take over so that the transition is smooth and you don't have to delay time. I want to welcome the new CEO and thank you for accepting our vote of all confidence in you to lead this institution. But we also want to go beyond that. We really believe the new market is Limpopo. We can take advantage of the growth of Limpopo and colonize it specially in a manner that will ensure that they are comfortable to come invest in our province and go back and sleep in our province in Limpopo. We are now ready. We are now ready to unveil a railway line between Johannesburg and Limpopo, a first speed train in our province so that we can invest in. This is because we are quite aware that we might be a smart but a small province, but we must take advantage of bigger rural provinces so that their growth must influence our growth in a very small province. So our investment, therefore, to grow Gauteng and ensure that it's stabilized, but at the same time, create a new rail opportunity of going to Limpopo, is a vote of confidence about the future. That this future must incorporate Gauteng, and Gauteng must play a strategic role. But all of you, you know, for Gauteng to grow, we need to be smart. And an area of smartness is to ensure that there is a single ticket for all forms of transport in our province. A single ticket for taxis, a single ticket for Prasa trains, a single ticket for Gautrain buses, a single ticket for buses, and a single a single ticket that will affect all forms of transport in our province. It's a project that has been hanging for too long, but we are now excited to announce that we are ready now to launch this particular process. It will make things easier for all of us. It will also make things easier for all our residents in our province. As we welcome you here now, be assured we are inspired by your ideas. Be assured we are ready to partner with you. Be assured we want your ideas to work, and the only place where those ideas can work in this country is here in Gauteng. We have the infrastructure. We have the necessary resources. We also have the necessary skills that can ensure that your ideas can function. As I take my seat, I want to urge you, the entire leadership that is here from our transport department, the entire leadership of government that is here is looking for ideas, not excuses. We are looking for ideas that are ready to be rolled out in our province. Not ideas that will need to wait for 15 and 20 years. We need ideas that are not only functional, but ideas that will drive our economy. I want to welcome you to this session. We are looking forward to our ideas. We are looking forward to interacting with you. But most importantly, we are looking forward to partner with us as we build a better, more economically viable Gauteng. For everything to work, it starts here in Gauteng. Thank you so much. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much, Honourable Panyaza Lesufi. I did see the Western Cape Premier over there looking very envious of all our plans that we have in Gauteng coming up. And I'd also like to say that I've moved out of the Stone Age, and today I'm driving a hybrid car, which I'm very impressed with myself with, and it's an amazing vehicle. It charges itself, and I've thoroughly enjoyed driving it. But if you see me later, we'll discuss more details on which car it is. For now, though, we are going to move on to our next address, and I'd like to please welcome onto stage the Honourable Gauteng MEC for Transport and Logistics, Ms. Kidibone Diale Tlabela.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? Okay. Thank you very much. I thought you would dance a little bit because everybody wanted to assist in bringing me up here. And I just said to them, no, I'm Winnie Mandela, don't worry. Thank you very much, Premier Honorable Panyaza Lesufi. As we excuse you to join the political program of the ANC, the governing party in Gauteng and in South Africa. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning to our partners and organizers of this event. And I'm told Deputy Minister Lisa Mangu has joined us or is joining us. And good morning to MMCs in municipalities in Gauteng. And a very good morning to my colleague from the Western Cape, MEC Ricardo Mackenzie. I know he calls himself minister, but now that you are in Gauteng, can we call you MEC? I know MEC from Northwest also planned to join us. I'm not sure if he's already here. And all protocol observes. The CEOs of the Gauteng Department of Transport and Logistics entities, as well as the HOD. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not well, but don't worry, I will not fall anytime soon. In Gauteng, they refer me to Rakhadi. So Rakhadi is an aunt for our international guests from Europe. So he's a very strong person in any family. And you can see they've given me what they call a backbone of the economy, Department of Roads and Transport in Gauteng. So I'm not about to fall anytime soon, though my health is not well and my doctors are not happy that I am here. We are meeting today in this October Transport Month, an event that underscores the important role of transportation in our society and provides us with an opportunity to embrace the future of mobility, as Premier has said. And this is one of the months that as a country we celebrate our stalwart. I think all of you who are from outside South Africa, in the continent, and outside the continent, you pass through OR Tambo International Airport. And this is the month where, as the whole country, we celebrate that giant. This year's focus revolves around several key initiatives, including strengthening the state's capacity to deliver services to our communities, combating crime and corruption in public transport, improving infrastructure in marginalized communities, and modernizing the taxi industry to support economic recovery and reconstruction. As the Premier has said, one of the things when we took over in October the 7th, 2022, that the Premier has set ourselves to as an executive was to prioritize services in our townships, informal settlements, and in our hostels. Transformation serves as the lifeblood of any region, seamless connecting people, goods, and ideas, transcending continents, regions, and cities. As we convene here today, we're joined by our top trading partners from the East, Europe, and the West, as well as our neighbors, our sisters and brothers within SADC region and in the continent of Africa. We're united by the significant investment we have made in transportation. This connectivity enables the exchange of cultures, ideas, and goods, driving economic growth and prosperity. I think in his speech, our Honorable Premier has made emphasis on the importance of the fourth industrial revolution. However, our world is changing rapidly, especially in this era of the fourth industrial revolution, presenting new challenges. The fourth industrial revolution is transforming the way we travel. Just a few years ago, hailing a taxi meant giving an address and waiting in uncertainty. Now all of this is managed on a smartphone, offering convenience and predictability. Moreover, we are witnessing innovations like driverless cars, autonomous trains, and artificial intelligence, which have the potential to reshape transportation and the job landscape. In the coming years, the transportation sector will undergo significant transformation as artificial intelligence penetrates industries. I think Premier has deliberated more on that this conference must help us resolve some of these challenges, and speak to the new ideas of how do we transform transportation. And all of you with great ideas, you are welcomed, and more especially to test your ideas on our ground in the province of champions, that is the province of Gauteng, with less natural disasters. At the global level, we are confronted with mounting evidence of climate change. In South Africa, recent devastating floods in the Western Cape and in the Eastern Cape serves as stark reminders. This evidence underscores the urgency of addressing global warming and its implication for transportation, as it is a significant contributor to carbon emissions, to combat climate change, and ensure the well-being of future generations. We must radically alter all our travel habits, modes of transport, and the types of fuels we use in our vehicles. And later, I think through one of our partners, we'll be showcasing some of the great ideas that the researchers in the industry came up with. Europe is grappling with the conflict in Ukraine and resulting energy challenges, while Africa faces its own set of issues, from rail and road infrastructure to vehicle quality, unemployment, and poverty. As technology, energy, and climate change reshape our world and job markets, we must seek sustainable solutions that prioritize the people's well-being and foster mutually beneficial partnerships between nations. With 80% of the global population projected to live in urban areas by 2050, we must develop clean, smart, equitable, and sustainable transportation systems that link urban centers with workplaces, education, and leisure facilities. To navigate these global shifts in transportation, we must consider the following factors. One of them is sustainable mobility. Across the globe, there's a growing emphasis on sustainable mobility, with countries transitioning to cleaner and more efficient transportation systems such as electric vehicles and public transit. We must draw inspiration from these efforts to reduce our carbon footprint by developing efficient rail systems, public transport networks, and well-maintained road infrastructure. I think not long ago, we went with the portfolio committee of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature as the Department of Roads and Transport to an international summit where most of these ideas were showcased, and I think as a team we're quite impressed and wanted to make sure that different industries that we work with within the roads and transport infrastructure are also exposed, and I hope that the exhibitions outside are able to showcase some of these ideas. On digital transformation, which the Premier has put more emphasis that as a Gauteng provincial government will support any initiatives and any investors wanting to invest in our province on this. The integration of digital technology is revolutionizing the transport sector. Smart mobility solutions like ride-sharing apps and integrated ticket systems that the Premier elaborated on, what we call one ticket, one province, enhance convenience and efficiency. Leveraging technology to improve traffic management and enhance the overall travel experience should be our priority. So this conference is not by mistake, and like the Premier said, on mass transit, internationally significant investments are being made in mass transit systems, including high-speed trains, light rail, and bus rapid transit. These systems alleviate congestion and offer sustainable alternatives to private vehicles. Our plans in Gauteng for improved public transit are in line with this global trend, and we are also considering expanding our rail network to connect with neighboring provinces and regions. So the Gauteng-Limpopo rail link is not about Bakoni. It's more about the economic spin-offs that comes with that. So please don't fault us that we are more investing in the Gauteng Limpopo rail because Bakoni generally are in charge of Gauteng. On intermodal connectivity, the seamless integration of various modes of transportation is gaining momentum worldwide. Ensuring easy transfer between trains, buses, and bicycles is essential for a well-functioning transportation network. Our government is actively working on mobility as a service solutions and integrated fare management system to simplify travel for the citizens of Gauteng. One other factor is electrification. Many countries are electrifying their transportation fleets, introducing electric buses, trams, and trains to reduce emissions and operational costs. In Gauteng, we are exploring similar initiatives to improve air quality. We are introducing electric cars, and I think you'll see us rolling it through our G-Fleet entity. On the energy production through wind and solar farms in our region, collaboration with European partners, BRICS nations, and other African countries to build smart corridors for both trade and energy exchange is our agenda as a provincial government. The global trends in transportation offer inspiration and guidance for our countries. By embracing sustainable, integrated, and technological advanced solutions, we can enhance the quality of life for our citizens, stimulate economic growth, and contribute to a greener and more sustainable future. So October Transport Month initiatives require us to roll up our sleeves and prepare for a productive October and beyond. Our province relies on the collective efforts of the transport sector to build bridges and work together. I wish to thank you and wish you all a successful Smarter Mobility Conference and a vibrant October Transport Month. Now, let's delve into the details of our October Transport Month initiatives. One of them is the data-centric mobility. We take pride in our efforts to integrate public transport through the construction of our state-of-the-art transport management center at our headquarters in 45 Commissioner Street in Johannesburg. This marks a significant step forward implementing the one ticket, one province system that the Premier was talking about. So ours is less talk, more work, and we will be unveiling the center later this month. And the center is equipped with smart technologies that provide real-time data for informed decision-making by commuters and operators. We are also wanting to build a very strong institutions. I think the announcement of the new CEO, Ntate Tshebo Khobe, of the Gautrain Management Agency, which is one of the agencies that we are wanting to grow more than being a management agency for Gautrain, but taking care of anything rail in our province. And I want us to give him a round of applause. He's not new in the agency. He's the current outgoing COO, and I think you can see we are serious about building strong institutions, and part of building strong institutions is to ensure continuity and institutional memory, and Tsepo is that. And we also want to thank the outgoing CEO, William Dex, who has really worked hard to ensure that we have the investments that we have in the form of Gautrain. So yeah, a lot is to come, and I think you will all keep watching Tsepo Khobe's space to check what's new and what are the new initiatives that we are bringing that. Our smart mobility plan places people At the core of resilient institutions and engaging young individuals in career development is our top priority. We are also partnering with different stakeholders in the automotive sector to unveil G-Fleet Management Auto Body Workshop on October the 20th. It's led by the acting CEO, Me Puleng Khadebe Mabaso. I hope I got the same name right. She's been changing and changing and changing. So this project is to benefit entrepreneurs in our townships, informal settlements, and hostels. By the way, G-Fleet is one of the entities that has been struggling for quite some time. And one of the things that when we were appointed was to go and strengthen, and through her leadership, we managed to even get a clean audit. So there's commitment. In strengthening the battle against crime and corruption, our efforts will be in vain if we do not address lawlessness and crime in our society. As part of our contribution as the DRT to combating criminality that threatens order and peace, we are on the cusp of launching a new, secure, and tamper-proof number plate system. The official unveiling of the new number plate prototype will take place in this October, on the 23rd and the 24th. Gauteng is indeed making significant strides in this project. And this is one of the projects that comes with a lot of opportunities to entrepreneurs and those who are in business. And one of the things that one learned is that in the whole country and in the whole SADC, it's only 3 companies that are manufacturing number plates. And we have been working tirelessly to ensure that there are new entrants. And I hope that people of Gauteng has taken opportunities. And I hope that investors that are here will also work tirelessly and ensure that they engage the local entrepreneurs to partner with them and invest in their businesses. We are excited to be unveiling new generation driving license testing centers in our townships, and one of those townships that we will be unveiling in this October is the Atteridgeville in city of Tshwane, not far from where I sleep. On October the 30th, through our tireless efforts, we have dispelled the notion that government merely talks without action. I thank you all for your dedication. Together we can transform transportation for a brighter future for all. And like we always do, we always call all of you to Agale Rona. Agale Rona is built with us. We can build with you being in Europe. We can build with you being in China. We can build with you being in Russia. We can build with you being in Botswana. We can build with you being in Namibia. We can build with you being in Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and anywhere else in Africa. So, and anywhere else in our township and in our province. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you'll enjoy the conference and you'll share the ideas. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Honourable Gauteng MEC for Transport and Logistics. If you guys are going to be talking about the summit online, I see a lot of people have their phones in their hands and are busy tweeting. Please use the hashtags, hashtag SMA2023. You can also use hashtag OTM, which is October Transport Month. Now, one of the main things that stood out for me listening to our 2 honourable speakers this morning was the coming together. Companies and countries can come together to initiate change. And that's something we're going to be speaking about this morning. Obviously, an event like this would not be possible without amazing partners. And this morning's session, our opening ceremony, is brought to you by Sasol. It's one of our proud diamond partners and sponsors for this year's Smarter Mobility Africa Summit. And this morning we're going to be talking about something very interesting. It's our first panel discussion of the day, and it's pretty much going to be partnerships coming together to have important conversations that can accelerate decisions in terms of mobility in Africa. So I would like to welcome onto stage our panel moderator. His name is Rishad Sidat, and he's the Executive Director of the Gauteng City Region Observatory.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. Perhaps, Priya, I should invite the other panelists onto the stage. Shall I do that? Mr. Jack van der Merwe, who's standing up. The MEC is also on the panel if she would like to join us. It's really up to you. You've had your say, but you are welcome, MEC. And the panelists who are sitting over there, you can come over. I'll introduce them in a moment. I'm very well aware of the time constraints, so I've got them under strict instructions to be very brief and concise, Program Director. But let me just take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of the MEC who has just spoken, MEC Kiriboni Diale Tlabela, the HOD for transport, Dr. Tulani Mdadani, and MECs from other provinces and any other sort of honored guests. I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Rashid Sidat. I'm the Executive Director of the Gauteng City Region Observatory. We have nothing to do with outer space. We're an urban observatory. We basically look at the Gauteng area. We are, in fact, a partnership now in its 15th year. It's a partnership between the Gauteng provincial government. We are funded mainly by Gauteng province. We also have organized local government in the form of Selga Gauteng, and then the two universities that are based in Johannesburg, the University of Johannesburg and Wits University. So we are a very unique urban observatory as urban observatories go. And in many ways, we have 1 foot in academia and 1 foot in the policy world, particularly with provincial and local government. I should say that this is a great opportunity to moderate a really great panel drawn from Europe and the African continent. The idea for this panel lies in a unique partnership named the African Mobility Network that includes the World Association of Major Metropolises, also known shortly as Metropolis. It includes the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and we have a speaker from there, the Gauteng provincial government in the form of the Department of Roads and Transport, the cities of Dakar in Senegal, and Maputo in Mozambique. Unfortunately, the colleagues from Maputo will only be joining us for a follow-up session on Thursday, but they weren't able to make today's event. Just to say that there's been an ongoing discussion amongst the partners that I've introduced over the last 2 or 3 years between these entities aimed at looking at the issues of transport governance, of informality, BRT and BRT systems. So those are some of the issues that we're focusing on. I should also say that we were very honored that Premier Lessufi at the Metropolis Conference or Congress in Brussels in June earlier this year basically spoke to our project in the plenary session. So there's been very much a sort of engagement with provincial government in relation to this particular project. So as I said, given the severe limitations of time, I'm going to ask each of the panelists to basically speak for about 5 minutes. And if we have time thereafter, I'll do maybe a couple of follow-ups. You want to be finished at 11, I assume, or more or less? Okay, thank you. But let me introduce my panelists. Firstly, it's Mr. Jack van der Merwe, and I'm going to do it in that order. Very well-known public servant, I think maybe the longest-serving public servant in Gauteng, who is now the CEO of the Transport Authority for Gauteng. I'm just going to give you all their profiles, and then I'll just call them up in that kind of sequence. Then we have Mr. Uli Wessling, who is the public transport and planning person in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, also known in abbreviation AMB. So they're the metropolitan sort of area of Barcelona, not the smaller city entity. Then we have Nancy Seck, who is a transport engineer from the Executive Council for Sustainable Urban Transport, or also CTUT is their acronym in Dakar in Senegal. And then we have Dr. Khan Yildiz, who works for the International Transport Union, or UITP, that's based in Brussels, and he's a senior director for membership and global operations, as I said, at UITP. So that's the panel, and I'm going to call on to talk about, in broad terms, the governance issues. I'm not going to repeat what they are about to say, but really it's just about how do we think about, in broad terms, around transport governance. Thank you very much, and over to you, Jack, on your side. Thank you.
Good morning. Is this thing working? Yeah. Good morning, MEC, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. If one talks about a transport authority, I think the first thing is, what is your approach? It has to be customer-centric. We aren't building roads or building railway lines or buying buses or taxis. We are moving people. So your point of departure must always be, how do we move people to their best advantage? The second issue is around governance. In Gauteng, we tried a few years ago to establish a transport commission. It had no legal standing. It was actually a voluntary organization. And it worked well until we came to issues that were contentious, and they were just ignored. So we had to formalize it. We passed the act in our legislature, and now we have a formal power to do what we're doing. The next point is coordination and cooperation. If one has a transport authority and one doesn't have cooperation and coordination, you might as well not even try it. We are the only entity in the provincial government. Half my board is local authority people. So we have representation from the 3 metros and the 2 district councils to do it. The next one, and I think this is the challenge in South Africa, we have to integrate transport planning and land use planning. We have a history of apartheid spatial distortion, and if we don't address this, because in our country, the poor live very far away from their work, and it's a very expensive and a very long trip. So that has to happen. But if one talks about integration, there has to be integration with economic planning, with housing department, to make sure that there's integration. The next one is sustainable transport goals. We know, or sustainable development goals, we know that the time that we call it a nice to have is finished. We've seen the very difficult climate conditions we have in Europe. We're seeing it here in South Africa. This is it's not something that's going to happen in the future. It's busy happening in now. So we have to look at replacing the internal combustion engine, reducing the carbon footprint of transport, and we are in the 11th hour that we have to do it. I hope I have. The other one is the ease of operation. One is always thinking that transport authorities have to do the big things, but you have to do the small things. You have to have common ticketing, the Premier has referred to it. You have to have a common timetable. You have to have modal integration, modal transfer centers. It has to be affordable. It doesn't help that you have a very fancy public transport system, but it's not affordable to the masses. And then, of course, the challenge of the last mile. In our country, the last mile has got a security impact, so one has to do it. Common branding, you will see there, There's a Gauteng on the move. If you come back in a year's time, I hope all the taxis, all the buses will have that on, which will be a sign of common standards, common approach to transport. And then the last point is priority of travel. One has to get the priority of travel right. Number one priority is non-motorized transport, then public transport, and then, if there's anything left, private transport. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the organization and for the invitation and to give us the opportunity to show our point of view of the governance. I speak about how we manage our two challenges, major challenges in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. We manage always the challenge of how we organize ourselves to provide the good mobility service to the users, and how we fund the systems. These are two major challenges that we are facing always. In Barcelona, we are organized with mainly two big entities. The regional government provides train services and also bus services, and we as a metropolitan area, we provide metro system service, also bus services, and some bike services. As in particular, the buses, there are three kind of contracts with buses. There is a concessions offered by the regional government that also provide services in the metropolitan area. And we as the AMB, the metropolitan area, we provide two services. The one tendered with private operators, and also one provided with a public operator, which provides service in the Barcelona, mainly in the city of Barcelona. How we came up to here, we created in the 80s a transport agency for 18 municipalities. In the 90s, we created a consortium to fund the whole system that I will explain later. In 2000, we made an integration of the fare system for almost all the services, public transport services, except for the taxi or for the bike services. And in 2010, we created the metropolitan government, the AMB, where I work, which I represent now, and with 36 municipalities. So the transport management went from 18 to 36 municipalities. How we fund the system? We created a consortium, as I said, in the 90s, that gets the money from the revenues of the users, gets also the money from the regional government, the metropolitan government, also the municipality of Barcelona, and a little bit of the state. And with all the money, this is given to the transport operators in function of the service provided. We try to, with the public funds, we try to pay 50% of the service, and the other 50% is paid by the users. And since we've been adapting to the metropolitan area, and we are trying to increase the services and the quality of the services of the different users in the whole metropolitan area, and also beyond the metropolitan area, because the fare system goes much beyond, and the regional government, of course. We are also getting more and more users in the service, and this is also giving us a fund problem, since we subsidize 50% of these services. We need more funds to maintain this system, and since we, as the metropolitan government, we consider the mobility a right of the citizens. So citizens have the right to move to work, the right to move to go to study. We have to find the ways to organize ourselves to provide these services to the citizens, and we have to find the sources to fund also the system. This is really not always easy. I've been speaking about the last 40 years up to now, so it's really a work, but that's what we're still trying to do.
Thank you. I think it's better. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation at this summit, and I'm really proud to be here and to be able also to share insight about the city of Dakar. Just to introduce myself again, my name is Nancy Sek, and I'm a transportation engineer for the Transit Authority of Dakar, which was created in 2005 after a crisis in the urban transport sector at that time. So it led to the creation of the authority, which is called CETUD in French. Just to give more context about Dakar, Dakar is a land. This is the city of the capital of Senegal, obviously, but it's an important region because it hosts 23% of the total population of the country on a land that represents only 0.3% of the geography of the country. So you can have a feeling of the density of the population there, and added to that, every year there is 100,000 more inhabitants. And so right now we're at 4 million in terms of population, and by the end of 2040, we will reach 7 million. So there is a lot of things going on in the region. And also added to that, you know, we have mobility challenges, obviously. And the first one is that when we did the first household survey in 2015, we realized that 70% of the trips were performed by walking within the region. 25% were performed using the transit system, and only 5% were using the individual vehicles. But what we see in the region is that there's traffic congestion. Besides the fact that 70% of people are walking and 25% are using the transit system. So what is the reason? What are the reasons? The first one is that we lack road capacity. The second one is that the transit system is not quite promoted. There is a lot of efforts obviously behind, but we still have a long way to go to convince people to take the transit system, but also to increase the supply of it, because it's obviously lacking. And we also realized that, okay, 70% of people are walking, so we need to place the pedestrians in the middle of all of this. We need to create infrastructures for them. We also need to make the modal shift to transit in order to decrease that 70% percentage. That's the first challenges that we have. The second one is that when we talk about African cities, we also talk about informal transit. And when we did that survey in 2015, we realized that out of the 25% using the transit system, 45% was informal transit. Obviously, there was a lot of efforts being performed by CETUD in order to professionalize the system, but we still have a long way to go, and we're still putting in place projects in order to improve that. The third challenge is obviously funding. Funding is very important, and CETUD was created, but then in 2005, a fund was put in place in urban transport for the development of it. But that fund is not sufficient because the fund was supposed to come from the state of Senegal, from the local authorities also, and also from the private operators. But we realized that the contribution was coming mainly from the state of Senegal. So we realized from there that we have to put in place financial mechanisms in order to tackle all of these challenges and put in place new projects. So what CETUD has done is that, first of all, it improved, it actually legally improved in 2022 to become the Urban Sustainable Transit Authority of Dakar in order to tackle everything about sustainability, obviously, because when with mobility challenges come, there is a higher carbon footprint. So we have to have more sustainable projects, but also to tackle traffic congestion, because that wasn't one of the missions of CETUD, but we realized that that is an important mission to integrate, and also to basically find more financial mechanisms, which we're putting in place with PPP projects, with our first BRT projects, and with also ongoing and further projects that we'll put in place. So that was my contribution, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again for the kind invitation to UITP, for attending this important summit. It's very good to see many friends from different parts of Africa. So maybe I can start with asking one question to the audience, and then based on their reply, we can be progressing. I want to ask the question, based on their experience and readings in different parts of the world, which city, according to them, has the best and most efficient urban transport system? Do you have any favorite city in terms of this in your mind that you could give? Of course, you may say Johannesburg, Gauteng, and so on, but other than this, sorry? London, okay. What else? Sorry? Dubai, London, Dubai. What else? Tokyo, Barcelona, Curitiba. Okay, good. So, I mean, there are different suggestions. And what do you think what they have in common in these cities who are having, according to you, the successful transport system? What's common there? What they are doing same in their cities? Any idea? Trains? Okay, what else? Curitiba doesn't have a trains, by the way. Huh? Authority. Buses, good buses. So let me tell you, we have done a study recently in UITP to see what are the, let's say, the most successful cities in the world in terms of efficient, sustainable urban mobility. There are some cities in our ranking from Europe, from Asia, from different parts of the world, like Vienna, Helsinki, Amsterdam, Munich, Hong Kong, Singapore, Tokyo, and so on. And I was asking myself the question, or my colleagues, what these successful cities are doing common. Are they all having like 100 kilometers of metro? Or are they all having BRTs? Or are they all having flying taxis, driverless mobility? What's common? So, and then when we look at what is common in these cities, we found 4 things. The 4 elements regarding urban transport are common in these successful cities. The first one, they all have clear vision about public transportation and urban mobility. They have clear statements about what they want to achieve 5 years, 10 years later, and political support on this. The second that they have the common is they have clear and right legal framework, regulatory framework. It doesn't mean that it might be having a regulatory approach with strict regulation, or there could be deregulated approach. So it's changing, but they have clear regulatory framework. The third thing, what they have common is sustainable funding and financing flows. And fourth thing, what they have common, to implement all this, they have right institutions. and they have empowered right capacities and right institutions. So when you have these four, when you have the clear policy framework, when you have right institutions to implement the things, when you have the clear legal framework and sustainable funding and financing, the success is coming. You gave example, for example, London or Dubai. You gave examples from Barcelona or different cities. When we look at them, many of them, they are having these four functions together, and this is coming with the success. And then here, the importance of urban transport authorities, integrated urban transport authorities are becoming very fundamental for us to achieve sustainable urban mobility in our cities. And when we look, especially after COVID-19 crisis that we experienced, the importance of urban transport authorities are becoming more and more essential. So their role is more important today than how it was in the past. In UITP, as per us, we have now new priorities in urban transport. If we compare ourselves with the pre-COVID period, of course, some of these new priorities were existing many years, but these new priorities became more and more essential. And when I look the role of the authorities for handling these priorities, they have a significant role for each of them. And when we look for these new priorities, what we see, the first, digitalization. That's the new trend and priority for urban transport. That's also important theme for this event. It's very important for authorities to enforce the implementation of digitalization. Of course, to use it for monitoring and exercising their functions. The second, we see decarbonization as a new trend and new, let's say, priority for our sector. Many parts of the world, I'm receiving a question, especially about decarbonization. They're asking me whether the future is electric buses or hydrogen buses. And then I ask to my friends sometimes, I answer my friends in a very pragmatic way. I tell them, look what the Chinese government is doing, in which kind of areas they are giving the more subsidies. So it's strong importance for the authorities here in terms of pushing, let's say, decarbonization agenda. The third priority, trend area for the sector is redefinition of public transport. In many years, we were describing public transport as with the fixed routes, fixed schedules. I always tell that public transport, there are two things that public transport should innovate. One is on the fixed routes and one is on the fixed schedules. And here we are discussing more about now the introduction of the new services. When we go out, we will be seeing all these new services more and more, how we can integrate this to the offer of urban transport. So the role of transport authorities are also essential here. And last but not least is the resilience. So this is the new priority area, new trend area for urban transport. But when I talk about resilience, it's not only about resilience in terms of the climate or external events, resilience in terms of resilient governance, resilient funding. So that's very important when we consider the new trends. So what I can tell is that the importance of authorities for successful sustainable mobility is very essential, and their role became more and more fundamental after COVID-19 when we are looking at our changing priorities in the sector.
Thank you, Khan. I just want to introduce Mr. Freeman Masuku, who's on my left here, who's the Chief Director for Transport Policy and Planning at the Gauteng Department of Transport and Logistics, standing in for the MEC. Over to you, Freeman.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think I'll introduce myself again. My name is Freeman Masuku. I'm actually a transportation engineer, and my role at the moment is being a Chief Director for Transport Policy and Planning. Listening to my colleague from Dakar, you get to hear that the types of issues and problems that we have in Gauteng are actually quite similar to the issues that they have in Dakar, and listening to the other speakers, you can also hear that the issues are actually broadly international. And in Gauteng, I think I'll use the same sort of matrix of analyzing what's happening in Gauteng, is that we are quite a unique province, and we have always requested when we are having discussions at a national level that can we be treated that way, because we contribute 33% of the GDP in the country. So we actually punch above the rest of the provinces. That's one thing that we need to talk about. Then the second thing is that we are a very small province. We 1.4% in terms of land mass. And we also have got a very huge population, more than 15 million people in such a small space. And with that, you also have quite a lot of in-migration into the province. So that actually creates quite a very complex transport situation for Gauteng. And on top of that, you have got 5 metros, cities in the Gauteng province, and 3 of them quite big cities like your city of Joburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni. And all of these are pegged in a very small space. So the kind of challenges that you then have is how then do you start moving people around in such a small space and such a small landmass. So in Gauteng, what we then did, realizing that first of all, you've got this huge population growth that is taking place, and you've got other challenges that are coming, like the 4th Industrial Revolution, the climate change, and employment issues in that small space. We then said we need to come up with a plan, with a vision. And then we came up with a plan on smart mobility, and we said we are going to grow the economy of Gauteng in using smart mobility by 2030. So we actually gave it a date, and we said we're going to grow this. And in that plan, on the governance, we said we must look at the institutions that we have in all these cities and also in the Gauteng province. And using those institutions, how then do we make the transportation system in Gauteng much more efficient? So we said we are going to then build strong institutions in Gauteng that will then start looking and concentrating on specific transport modes and specific areas of interest. So then when we looked at this, we then said, well, if you are then going to look at building strong institutions, what type of institutions are those strong institutions going to be like? And then I think Jack has spoken about this. We then looked at, let's then come up with an institution that is going to integrate transportation in the whole of the Gauteng province. That's when the Transport Authority of Gauteng was born, and in also looking at the other modes of transport, what other institutions then can come in to make your public transportation systems much more efficient. So in the governance side, when looking at those building strong institutions, we have come up with a formula that we think will work in integrating transport, and we have come up with a formula that we think by 2030 we can realize the vision in Gauteng. So in Gauteng, you have in the public transport system, I think my colleague in Dakar, they also have almost a similar issue. You've got 70% of the trips being done by informal transportation, which is your minibus taxi, the minibus taxi industry. This is an industry that has grown fundamentally in Gauteng, and it's an industry that is actually serving the poorest of the poor in Gauteng. But what we want to see is the growth of that particular industry, but at the same time, the growth of mass transit systems like your train systems, and the growth of other systems like your bus systems. And all of these, the buses, the trains, it's a shared responsibility between the national government and the cities and the private sector. So in terms of governance and making these the systems much more efficient, you then have to find a way of integrating all these systems and making them work properly, but within the control of the Gauteng province. So within the rail system, the rail system in the province, it's actually at the present moment a national competence, but Gauteng also has sort of a role that is playing through the Gautrain, but would like to see going into the future a much more control over that public transport system and much more control over the rail systems. So we are looking into seeing sort of a much more bigger role of Gauteng playing a much more bigger role in the rail system, and in the future we are looking forward to the rail itself, all of it being devolved more onto the provincial level. I think when we get that sort of control, I think we'll be able to then integrate all the transportation systems that we have in Gauteng. But we also have our growing partnerships internationally. Our colleague from UITP, we've got a very strong partnership with UITP. That will also help us sort of get an international perspective and also advice in terms of what's happening internationally and what we are doing in Gauteng. And we also have partnerships with Metropolis. We've got colleagues coming from Barcelona. We've got colleagues from Dakar and also from Maputo who are also working with us in terms of looking at our transportation system and make sure that we get the lessons from internationally and we bring them down here to Gauteng. And I think at the present moment it's actually working very well, and we're hoping that we will be able to then realize our vision of a smart mobility, of a smarter transportation system in Gauteng, and one which is much more sustainable. Thanks, Chair.
So, as an audience, you can't see, we have this big flashing time thing, and it says time's up, so it's like the doomsday clock in a way, but I'll be 2 minutes. I just firstly want to thank the panelists. I think we've had a really good, diverse set of issues, but many issues of commonality as well, and I think that's what actually makes the network that we've been talking about quite important, and how do we pick up on those threads of commonality and basically take that forward or as a part of a series of ongoing conversations. And that's really what we want to do. And I'm not really going to summarize, but suffice to say that a number of issues have been thrown up into the air. Given the brevity of time, I think the issue is only that, you know, in the course of later today, understand this session to be a framing session in relation to a number of issues that have been raised and will be picked up as part of the conversations today and tomorrow and beyond. And thank you very much for the opportunity, and good day to you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen on the panel. We do appreciate your time. I know that they are going to be around for the rest of the morning. If we could just maybe get the panelists on stage for a quick photo. So they are going to be around for the rest of the morning, so if you do have any questions or anything that you want to engage with them for, please do find them. I'm sure they're very willing to have a cup of coffee with you and chat about some of the things they spoke about this morning. Then a quick one, just a correction on the hashtags. It's actually hashtag SMA Summit. Is the core one that we are going to be using for the next 2 days. And then it's hashtag OTMSA 2023. So that's October Transport Month, South Africa 2023 for those hashtags. Okay, so we're moving into the last bit of our session this morning, and this one is going to be quite exciting because Sasol has a massive announcement that they are going to be making for you right here on the stage at Smarter Mobility Africa Summit. So I'd like to please welcome onto stage Fleetwood Grobler, who's the Chief Executive Officer at Sasol, who's going to be talking to us about this exciting announcement. Thank you, sir.
Barracks and hostels. They think about the loved ones they may never see again. Thank you. Because they might already have been forcibly removed from where they last left them or wantonly murdered.
Thank you, Program Director. Honorable Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyazi Lesufi, I believe he's still outside, members of the Gauteng Provincial Government, distinguished guests and partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We find ourselves at a pivotal moment in history where the fate of our planet and the legacy we leave for the future generations are at a crossroads. As a global community, it is clear that we cannot maintain the planet's ecosystems nor our quality of life if we do not make fundamental shifts in the way that we live and conduct our business. Safeguarding our future for a better world will require deliberate and collaborative effort that transcends borders, industries, and societies. Against this backdrop, I'm delighted that today we unveil South Africa's first proof of concept for an on-road hydrogen mobility ecosystem, a significant milestone some 2 years in its development. For over 7 decades, Sasol has relentlessly pursued innovation and process advancements to produce world-class synthetic fuels and chemicals. We are a significant contributor to South Africa's energy security, meeting approximately 30% of the country's liquid fuels needs and demand. Today, Sasol's purpose, which is to innovate for a better world, is again realized through pioneering energy solutions that are sustainable in a lower carbon reality. The modern world as we know it is shaped by our ability to move. Transportation is key to our societies and economies thriving. However, the sector globally is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. And the National Business Initiative cited a recent study that the transport sector contributes more than 10% to South Africa's gross national emissions. We are confident that green hydrogen is a key to decarbonizing various hard-to-abate sectors as well as the transport sector. Hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe, has the potential to be a game changer in the quest for sustainable energy and transportation. As one of the world's largest producers of grey hydrogen, Sasol have deep experience and expertise in its production and marketing. This has shaped our ambition to play a leading role in the development of a South African green hydrogen economy. Approximately 2 years ago, Sasol set itself an ambition with a goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. Our strategic intent is to transition in a gradual, phased approach that encompasses a reset, a transition, and a reinvent pathway. As we progress, we are committed to transforming our operations by shifting towards alternative feedstocks and reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. Our vision encompasses a future where green hydrogen and biogenic sources of carbon play a central role as they become increasingly abundant and accessible from an affordability point of view. Sasol's unique Fischer-Tropsch technology, or FT in short, will play a key role in our transition. While FT technologies are typically linked to a fossil fuel feedstock, Our technology, on the other side, is, when it comes to the source of the hydrogen or carbon feedstock, agnostic to where it comes from. With the FT technology, we can produce sustainable products very much sought after in a low-carbon world. Furthermore, the flexibility of our FT technology enables us to adapt our solutions that align with changing market requirements. Together with the country's renewable energy potential and mineral wealth, South Africa is well positioned to be a global green hydrogen destination. But we cannot achieve this ambition alone. We need partnerships to build an ecosystem around these new sources of sustainable energy. Catalyzed by our commitment to decarbonization, Sasol formed a strategic partnership with Toyota South Africa Motors in 2021 to explore the development of a local green hydrogen mobility ecosystem. Toyota is at the forefront of hydrogen fuel cell technology development, and I'm sure you can agree that the Toyota Mirai is a beautiful application of hydrogen fuel cell technology. We subsequently expanded that collaboration to include Air Products, a world-leading provider in hydrogen dispensing technologies, logistics, and support. Their role is essentially to enabling on-the-road hydrogen mobility. As we work towards redefining our business, we are committed to enabling a just transition and decarbonization through various pathways, from sustainable aviation fuels and to integrating renewable energy into our operations, to exploring carbon capture technologies and green hydrogen mobility, the reason we are here today. Green hydrogen is named as such because electrolyzer plants that produce these molecules are powered by renewable energy. In South Africa, while we are one of the world's leading locations with significant renewable energy potential, particularly wind and solar, and therefore we have embraced this strategic advantage by procuring over 600 megawatts of renewable energy to date, with another 600 megawatts to follow towards 2030. At our Sasolburg operations, we have successfully commissioned a 3 megawatt solar plant, a 3 megawatt solar farm that powers existing electrolyzers. I'm very pleased that we have already achieved daily production of approximately 150 kilograms of green hydrogen during the plant's commissioning phase in our Sasolburg facility. In the near term, this will be bolstered by a further 69 megawatts from the Msenge Emoyeni wind farm in the Eastern Cape. We expect this to come online later in 2024, and that will enable our Sasolburg electrolyzers to produce up to 5,500 kilograms of green hydrogen a day. Having reached this historic milestone, much more work is to be done, which includes developing the regulatory environment in which green hydrogen mobility can thrive. The National Land Transport Strategic The National Land Transport Strategic Framework, gazetted by the Minister in March 2023, thank you. That was also a big strategic initiatives, but it also outlines the complex set of challenges currently faced by the South African transport sector. This also outlines government strategic ambition for the South African transport sector and promotes the development of cleaner propulsion fuels, including green hydrogen, and it is important to recognize this work being done also by the National Logistics Crisis Committee in the near term to address some of these concerns as we face it in the next years. We continue to collaborate with government on all levels and across various ministries, departments, and agencies to realize South Africa's transition to a lower carbon reality. However, today is about showcasing a solution we firmly believe in, which is harnessing the power of hydrogen to propel a fuel cell electric vehicle. Milestones such as this one hold immense significance as they serve as catalysts for exploring progress and development. They are a culmination of multidisciplinary expertise and experience from many stakeholders. And I'm very proud to have Sasol be part of this green mobility initiative. As technology advances, more innovative mobility options could emerge, including robo-shuttles like the shared autonomous minibuses or even urban air taxis. Trains and heavy-duty transport will likely be biased towards hydrogen as a source of propulsion. The result of all these changes? A mobility ecosystem that is more intelligent, seamless, and environmentally friendly. The program this week, I'm sure, will cover many of these emerging technologies in mobility that are likely to present both opportunities and challenges to the automotive industry in South Africa. Therefore, let us embrace and engage on these concepts and keep an open mind to collaborate and harness the business opportunities to bolster our decarbonization journey as well as the economy in South Africa. To conclude, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to our partners, Toyota South Africa Motors and Air Products South Africa, for their invaluable contribution in bringing this initiative to life. As Sasol, we look forward to the next phase of our partnership. In closing, it gives me great pleasure now to invite all of you here to join Sasol, Toyota, and Air Products and experience our on-road hydrogen mobility proof of concept ecosystem just outside here of the hall. I thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Fleetwood. And you know what? It sounds like an absolutely amazing concept, and I cannot wait to see it in action. And that does bring us to the end of our opening ceremony today. Thank you very much for everyone for attending. Of course, thank you to our honorable speakers this morning, as well as our panel and Fleetwood. Now, though, I would like to invite you to that demonstration that Fleetwood was chatting about. It is happening just outside the hall on your right, my right-hand side, your left-hand side. And you can grab a light coffee, something to snack on, and then make your way to that area where they're going to be doing the demonstration. For myself, Kuya Gangia, thank you so much, and I'll see you for the rest of the conference.